You think your pain was pointless. You think the doors that closed were only cruelty. You think the people who left you took something you will never get back. But you're wrong. The truth is simpler and far more terrifying than that. Nothing that happened to you was wasted. Nothing. Every loss was a redirection, every delay was protection, every closed door was a hand on your shoulder turning you toward a door you could not yet see. There is a force that has been operating in your life the entire time. Silent, invisible, patient, working underneath every disappointment you cursed and every setback you mourned. I call it the unseen architect. It does not shout. It does not explain itself in the moment. It builds, it arranges. It moves pieces across the board of your life while you sleep, while you weep, while you swear that God has forgotten you. You do not suffer for nothing. You suffer for something. You are not falling apart. You are being rearranged. And here is what should shake you awake tonight. The person who never learns to read the unseen architect stays bitter forever. They spend their whole life at war with their own story. They curse the very events that were carrying them toward their purpose. They reject the gift because it arrived wrapped in pain. They die confused, angry at a God who was never against them, blind to a plan that was always for them. So let me ask you something, and do not answer too quickly. What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was the exact thing sent to save you? Sit with that question, because everything you are about to hear depends on your willingness to look at your life differently, not as a series of accidents, not as random cruelty, but as a message written in a language you were never taught to read. Today, you learn to read it. Everything happens for a reason. You have heard those words before. Maybe someone said them to you at a funeral and you wanted to scream. Maybe they were spoken by a friend who did not know what else to say. And maybe, in that moment, they felt like an insult, a cheap bandage slapped over a wound too deep for words. But I am not here to give you a bandage. I am here to give you eyes. Because when you truly understand what those words mean, they stop being a comfort you tolerate and become a truth you build your life upon. The Bible tells us in the book of Romans that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. Read that again slowly. It does not say that all things are good. Betrayal is not good. Sickness is not good. The night you sat on the floor and could not breathe was not good. The verse does not lie to you and call darkness light. It says something far more powerful. It says that all things work together. Together. Like ingredients that are bitter on their own but become bread when combined by the hands of a master baker. The flour alone is dust. The yeast alone is nothing. The heat alone would burn you. But together, guided by a purpose, they become the thing that feeds you. Your pain is an ingredient. Your waiting is an ingredient. That season you thought would destroy you was an ingredient, and the unseen architect has been combining them the whole time. Napoleon Hill dizia कि every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. Let those words land on you. Not just the good moments, the adversity, the failure, the heartache. Hill spent his life studying the most successful people who ever lived, and he discovered something that the world still refuses to believe. The men and women who rose highest were not the ones who suffered least. They were the ones who learned to find the seed inside the suffering. They did not deny their pain, they planted it. Think about what that means for you. Inside the very thing you would erase from your history, if only you could, there is a seed. A seed of strength you would not have grown any other way. A seed of wisdom that only that specific darkness could teach. A seed of compassion for others that was planted the day your own heart broke. You wanted the lesson without the wound. But the wound was the classroom, and the unseen architect knew that. It always knew. Let me tell you about a man who lived this truth long before Napoleon Hill ever wrote a word. His name was Joseph, and he was his father's favorite son. His father loved him so openly that his brothers came to hate him. And one day, in a fit of jealousy, those brothers threw him into a pit and sold him to strangers who carried him away to a foreign land. Imagine being Joseph in that pit. Imagine looking up at the faces of your own blood as they decided your fate. Imagine the betrayal so total that it would have been kinder if they had simply let you die. What reason could there possibly be for that? What good could come from being sold like an animal by the people who were supposed to protect you? Joseph did not know. In that pit, he could not see the reason. And this is the part you must understand about your own life. In the pit, you never see the reason. The reason is not visible from the bottom. The reason only reveals itself from the top of the mountain that the pit was secretly building toward. Joseph was carried into Egypt and sold as a slave. And even as a slave, he rose because there was something in him that adversity could not kill. Then, just as things improved, he was falsely accused of a crime he did not commit and thrown into prison. Another pit, another betrayal. Another season where any reasonable person would have concluded that God had abandoned him. Years passed in that prison. Years, not days, not weeks. Years of a young man's life spent behind bars for something he never did. But the unseen architect was not idle in those years. It was arranging, it was positioning. It was moving Joseph, pit by pit, betrayal by betrayal, closer to a throne he could not imagine. And when the time was right, Joseph was lifted out of that prison and set over all of Egypt, second only to the king himself. The slave became a ruler. The prisoner became a savior. And when a famine swept across the earth, it was Joseph, the boy his brothers had discarded, who held the bread that would keep entire nations alive. Years later, those same brothers stood before him, not knowing who he was, begging for food, and Joseph could have destroyed them. He had every earthly right, but instead he wept, and he spoke words that should be carved into the walls of your heart. He told them, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Do you hear the two hands in that sentence? There was a hand that meant evil, real evil. The betrayal was real, the pit was real, the prison was real. Joseph does not pretend otherwise. But over that hand was another hand, the hand of the unseen architect, taking the very same event and bending it toward a purpose so large that it saved a generation. The same event, the exact same event, evil in one hand, good in the other. And the difference between a life of bitterness and a life of destiny is which hand you learn to see. Right now, someone hearing these words is living inside their own pit. You did not deserve it. You did not choose it. Someone meant it for evil, and the evil was real, and I will not insult you by pretending it was not. But I am asking you to consider, just consider, that there is a second hand at work in your story, that the very thing dragging you down might be the thing carrying you somewhere your comfortable life never could. If these words are reaching something deep inside you right now, I want you to type 3 words in the comments. I am rising, not because your pain is over, but because you are choosing right now to believe there is a reason. Type it, I am rising, and watch what those 3 words begin to do inside you. Now let me show you why this is not just an ancient story, but a law that governs your mind this very moment. Napoleon Hill dizzier that the mind takes on the nature of the dominant thoughts that occupy it, and that what the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This is where faith and mindset become one river, because the way you interpret your past is not a passive act, it is a creative act. When you look at your history and call it meaningless, you are programming your subconscious mind to expect a meaningless future. But when you look at that same history and search for the seed, the lesson, the redirection, you are training your mind to become a discoverer of purpose. And a mind that discovers purpose in the past will attract purpose in the future. Your interpretation becomes your instruction. Whatever story you tell yourself about why things happened becomes the blueprint your subconscious builds tomorrow from. This is the bridge between the God who works all things together and the mind that must learn to cooperate. God provides the reason, but you must provide the eyes to see it. And the eyes are trained, the eyes are chosen, the eyes are built through discipline day after day, until seeing purpose becomes as natural as breathing. Consider what happens inside a person who believes that everything is random. Every setback confirms their helplessness. Every closed door proves the universe is against them. They live in a state of quiet war, bracing for the next blow, certain that life is happening to them. And because the subconscious mind is a faithful servant, it delivers exactly what they expect. It finds the evidence. It attracts the circumstances. It builds a life that matches the belief. The person who is certain that nothing means anything will find again and again that nothing means anything, not because it is true, but because they made it true by refusing to look for the reason. Now consider the opposite. Consider the person who has trained their eyes to see the unseen architect at work. When a door closes, they do not collapse. They lean in and whisper, "What are you protecting me from? What are you turning me toward?" When a plan falls apart, they do not curse the sky. They ask what is being built in the ruins. This person is not naive. They feel the pain like anyone else, but they refuse to let the pain have the final word. And their subconscious mind, watching this daily practice, begins to reorganize itself around expectation instead of fear. Opportunities they would have missed now become visible. Coincidences begin to multiply. The very same world that crushes the bitter man opens itself to the one who is looking for the reason. The Proverbs of Solomon tell us that as a man thinks in his heart, so is he, not as he thinks in his mouth, in his heart. The words you speak matter, but the belief you carry beneath the words matters infinitely more. You can say everything happens for a reason with your lips while your heart screams that life is chaos. And your heart will win. It always wins. So the work is not to say the right words. The work is to descend beneath the words into the heart, and there, in the deep place where your true beliefs live, to plant a new conviction. My life is not random. My pain is not wasted. There is a reason, and I will find it. And even before I find it, I will trust it. Let me take you now into a wilderness, because some reasons are not revealed in a pit, but in a desert. There was a man named Moses who was born to be a deliverer. He grew up in a palace, raised as a prince with power and privilege, and every door open before him. And then, in a single moment of rage, he killed a man, and everything he was collapsed. He fled into the wilderness, a fugitive, a failure, a prince reduced to a shepherd tending someone else's sheep. And there he stayed. Not for a month, not for a year, for 40 years. 40 years in the back of a desert, watching sheep growing old, watching the dream of who he was supposed to be turn to dust in the sand. If you had asked Moses at year 20 of that exile what the reason was, he could not have told you. It would have looked like nothing but waste, a wasted calling, a wasted life. A man who once walked in palaces now talking to goats under the desert sun. But the unseen architect was not wasting those years. It was emptying him. The proud prince who tried to deliver his people by his own strength had to be reduced to a humble shepherd who would deliver them by God's strength instead. The wilderness was not punishment. The wilderness was preparation. And when Moses was finally ready, when 40 years had burned away everything false in him, a bush caught fire and did not burn, and the voice of God called him back to do the very thing he had failed to do decades before. Here is what your wilderness is doing to you right now. You think you are being wasted. You think your gifts are rotting in obscurity. You think the world has forgotten you and your best years are slipping away in a season of nothing. But the wilderness is never nothing. The wilderness is where the false version of you dies, so the true version can be born. Every great deliverer, every person who ever carried something meaningful into the world, passed through a desert first. The desert is not the absence of the reason. The desert is the reason. Napoleon Hill desired that patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success, but he also understood something deeper, that the temporary defeat is not permanent failure, and that most of the great failures of life are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Think about that in the context of your wilderness. The tragedy is not the desert. The tragedy is walking out of the desert one day before the bush would have caught fire. The tragedy is quitting in year 39, when year 40 held everything you were waiting for. So I need to ask you to reflect on something, and do not rush past it. What season are you calling a waste right now that might actually be your wilderness? Where in your life have you decided nothing is happening, when the truth is that everything is happening beneath the surface, where your eyes cannot yet reach? Breathe for a moment. Let your mind go to that place of waiting, that situation that feels stuck, that season that feels pointless. And instead of asking, why is this taking so long, ask a different question. Ask, what is being built in me that could only be built here? That question changes everything, because it moves you from victim to student. The victim asks, why is this happening to me? The student asks, "What is this teaching me?" The victim sees a sentence, the student sees a classroom. And the unseen architect responds to students, not victims. It reveals its reasons to those who are humble enough to look for them. There is a discipline of the mind here that I want to give you, something you can practice starting tonight. When your mind drifts as it will toward the memory of the thing that hurt you, do not push it away and do not drown in it. Instead, ask the memory a question. Say to it, "What did you make me become?" Not "What did you take from me?" What did you make me become? Because every hard thing you have survived made you into someone. It gave you a strength, a depth, a knowledge, a capacity for compassion that the untested version of you would never have possessed. And when you begin to see the becoming inside the breaking, the memory loses its power to torment you and gains the power to teach you. I want to give you a practice now, something to carry with you long after this video ends. Find a quiet moment tonight when the noise of the day has faded and the house is still. Sit down, close your eyes, and take a slow breath in through your nose, letting it fill you completely. Hold it for a moment at the top, and then release it slowly through your mouth, letting your shoulders fall, letting the tension drain out of your body. Do this 3 times. Breathe in the belief that there is a reason. Breathe out the fear that there is not. In with trust, out with doubt. In with the unseen architect, out with the chaos you have feared. Now, with your eyes still closed, bring to your mind the hardest thing you have walked through. Do not run from it. Look at it. And this time, instead of asking why, place your hand over your heart and say quietly, "Thank you." It will feel impossible at first. Your whole being will resist. Thank the thing that hurt you, yes, not because it did not hurt, but because you are choosing to believe it was not wasted. Thank you for the strength you gave me. Thank you for the wisdom I could not have learned any other way. Thank you for turning me toward the person I was always meant to become. And feel, as you say it, something shift in your chest, a loosening, a release, the moment the past stops being a prison and becomes a foundation. This is how you reprogram a heart, not by pretending the pain never happened, but by refusing to let it mean nothing. Gratitude is the tool that transforms your history from an enemy into an ally. And when you have made this a daily practice, when you have thanked every hard season for the seed it planted, you will find that you are no longer haunted by your past. You are fueled by it. Now let me show you a deeper layer of this truth, because there is a kind of pain that does not come from betrayal or from waiting, but from a battle you were chosen to fight. There was a young man named David, the youngest of 8 sons, so overlooked that when the prophet came to his father's house to anoint the future king, David was not even called in from the fields. He was tending sheep, doing the small and forgotten work, while his older, stronger, more impressive brothers stood in the house expecting to be chosen. But the unseen architect does not choose the way the world chooses. And the boy in the field, the one nobody thought to invite, was the one anointed to be king. But here is the part they do not tell you. Being anointed did not make David's life easier. It made it harder. After that anointing came the giant. After the giant came the jealous king who hunted him like an animal for years. After the escape came the caves, the running, the nights when the promised king slept on cold stone, wondering if the promise had been a lie. David was anointed for a throne and spent years living like a criminal. What was the reason for that? Why would the same force that promised him a crown allow him to be hunted through the wilderness like prey? Because a shepherd boy cannot rule a kingdom, but a man forged in caves can. Those years of running were not a detour from David's destiny. They were the making of it. In the caves, he learned to depend on God when there was no one else. In the running, he learned mercy, sparing the very king who hunted him. In the waiting, he wrote songs of such honesty and depth that people would read them thousands of years later and find their own broken hearts described. The psalms that comfort millions were not written from a palace. They were written from a pit, from a cave, from the raw floor of human desperation. The reason for David's suffering was that it produced the depth without which he could never have led, never have written, never have become the man whose name still echoes across the centuries. Your battle is not a punishment. Your battle is your forging. The pressure you are under right now is not there to break you. It is there to make you into something that pressure alone can create. A diamond is only coal that refused to quit under pressure. And you, right now, are being pressed. Not destroyed, pressed. And the unseen architect is watching what you become under that weight. Napoleon Hill desire that strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle, that you cannot become strong by avoiding the very thing that makes you strong. The world teaches you to run from difficulty, to escape discomfort, to seek only ease. But ease has never made anyone great. Ease has never revealed anyone's true reason for being here. It is in the struggle, in the very place you are begging to escape, that your purpose is being carved. The muscle grows in the tearing, the faith grows in the testing, the soul grows in the very seasons you would give anything to skip. I know some of you are tired. I know that hearing there is a reason does not always take the exhaustion away. So let me speak to that tiredness directly. You are not weak for being tired. You are tired because you have been carrying something heavy for a long time, and carrying heavy things is what makes you strong, but it also wears you down. So let this be your moment to breathe. Let this be your reminder that the weight you carry is not proof that you are cursed. It is proof that you were chosen for something that requires strength. God does not hand heavy assignments to weak people. He builds strong people through heavy assignments. And if your assignment feels heavy, it is because your future is large. If this message is speaking to the tired place inside you, I want you to do something. Pause and think of one person in your life who is also tired, who is also carrying something heavy, who needs to hear that their pain is not pointless. Share this video with them, not later, now. Because the same message that is reaching you was meant to reach them too, and you might be the unseen architect's chosen instrument to deliver it. Someone is one message away from believing again, and that someone is in your phone right now. Now let me speak to the ones whose reason has not arrived yet, because this is the hardest faith of all. Joseph got his throne, Moses got his burning bush, David got his crown. But they got them at the end of the story. In the middle, they had nothing but the belief that a reason existed. And you right now may be standing in the middle. The pit has not turned into a palace. The wilderness has not turned into a calling. The cave has not turned into a crown. You are simply here in the unfinished part of your story, asked to believe in a reason you cannot yet see. This is where faith is truly born. Anyone can believe there was a reason after the reason is revealed. That is not faith. That is hindsight. Real faith is believing in the reason while you are still in the pit, before the rescue, before the reversal, before you have any evidence at all. The book of Hebrews tells us that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Read that carefully, the evidence of things not seen. Faith is not the absence of evidence. Faith itself is a kind of evidence. When you choose to believe there is a reason before you can see it, that belief becomes a substance, a force, a reality that begins to shape what happens next. Napoleon Hill desired that faith is a state of mind that may be induced by auto-suggestion, that it is the eternal elixir which gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. He understood, from a purely practical study of successful people, what the scriptures had taught for thousands of years. That belief comes first, that the internal conviction precedes the external result. The people who achieved the impossible believed in the reason before the reason materialized. They lived from the end. They acted as though the good outcome was certain, and their certainty organized their actions, their choices, their energy, until the world bent to match the belief they had planted deep in their subconscious mind. So how do you build faith in a reason you cannot see? You practice it. You do not wait to feel it. You choose it again and again, until the choosing becomes a feeling and the feeling becomes a certainty. Every morning before the doubts of the day rush in, you speak to your own soul. You say, I do not understand what is happening, but I trust that it is happening for a reason. I cannot see the whole picture, but I trust the hand that is painting it. My steps are ordered even when they feel lost. My story is going somewhere even when it feels stuck. And you say it not because you feel it, but because you are training your heart to believe it, and the heart, given enough repetition, always yields. There is a scripture that says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Notice what it asks you to surrender: your own understanding. This is the hardest surrender of all, because your understanding is screaming that this makes no sense, that there is no reason, that everything is falling apart. And you are asked to lean not on that understanding, to set it down, to trust a direction you cannot trace with a mind that can only see a few steps ahead. The unseen architect sees the whole blueprint. You see one brick, and faith is trusting the architect with the bricks you cannot understand. Let me give you another practice, a morning declaration, to plant this faith into the soil of your subconscious before each day begins. When you wake, before you reach for your phone, before the world floods in, place your feet on the floor and speak these words out loud with intention, with feeling. Today is not random. My life is not an accident. There is a reason moving through everything I will face today. I release my need to understand, and I choose to trust. What is meant for me is finding its way to me. What is being taken from me is protecting me. I walk today as someone whose story is being written by a loving and intelligent hand, and I am not afraid. Speak that every morning and watch what happens over weeks and months. The anxiety that used to greet you at dawn begins to loosen its grip. The compulsion to control every outcome begins to soften. You start moving through your days with a quiet confidence that comes not from knowing what will happen, but from trusting the one who does. This is how the mind is reprogrammed. Not in a single dramatic moment, but in the faithful repetition of a new belief, spoken until it becomes the deep and automatic assumption from which your whole life flows. Now I want to speak about the reasons that hide inside the things that are taken from you, because loss has its own secret architecture. There was a woman named Naomi who lost everything. She lost her home to famine and had to flee to a foreign land. And in that foreign land, she lost her husband. And then, as if that were not enough, she lost both of her sons. She was left with nothing but 2 grieving daughters-in-law, and a heart so shattered that when she returned to her homeland, she told the people not to call her by her name anymore. "Call me bitter," she said, "for the Almighty has dealt bitterly with me." She could see no reason. She could see only what had been ripped away. But watch the unseen architect at work in the rubble of Naomi's life. One of those daughters-in-law, a woman named Ruth, refused to leave her. "Where you go, I will go," Ruth said. "Your people will be my people, and your God my God." And this Ruth, this foreign woman bound to a bitter widow by nothing but loyalty and love, went on to marry a good man in Naomi's homeland. And Ruth had a son, and that son had a son. And down through the generations of that family, born from the loyalty that grew in the soil of Naomi's devastating loss, came David the king. And from the line of David, generations later, came the one whose birth split history in 2. Everything that Naomi called bitterness was actually the beginning of the greatest lineage in human history. She could not see it. She was standing too close, too early, too deep in her grief. But the reason was there the whole time, growing quietly in the very losses she cursed. What have you lost that you have called only bitterness? What has been taken from you that you cannot yet see the reason for? I will not stand here and tell you that your loss does not hurt, because it does and it should, and grief is not a lack of faith. But I will tell you that loss is never the end of the story when the unseen architect is writing it. What looks like a period is often only a comma. What looks like the end of the sentence is often the setup for a word you cannot yet imagine. Naomi thought her story was over. It had barely begun. Napoleon Hill dizia that every adversity carries the seed of an equivalent advantage, and that the seed is often invisible in the moment of loss, only becoming clear with the passage of time and the shift of perspective. This is not blind optimism. This is a law observed across countless lives. The greatest fortunes were often born from the ashes of the greatest failures. The deepest wisdom was often purchased with the highest price. The people who go on to bless the most others are so often the ones who first survived the most loss. Your pain is not disqualifying you from your purpose. Your pain may be qualifying you for it. Consider how many who comfort the grieving are those who have grieved. How many who lift the fallen are those who have fallen. How many who guide the lost are those who once were lost themselves. The very thing you went through may be the exact credential you needed for the work you were born to do. You did not want that credential. You would never have chosen that classroom. But now that you have it, now that the price has been paid, will you let it be wasted? Or will you let it become the seed of everything you are meant to give the world? There is a moment I need you to have right now, a moment of real reflection. So let the words slow down and let your heart open. Think of your life as a tapestry being woven from behind. If you have ever seen the back of a tapestry, you know it looks like chaos. Loose threads, knots, colors that seem to go nowhere, ugly tangles that make no sense. From behind, you would swear the weaver had no idea what they were doing. But the weaver is not working from behind. The weaver sees the front, the finished image, the pattern of stunning beauty that every knot and every loose thread is quietly serving. You are looking at the back of your tapestry. Of course it looks like chaos. Of course the threads seem random. You are seeing it from the only side you can see. But the unseen architect is weaving from the front, and there is an image forming that you cannot yet perceive, and every dark thread you have cursed is making the light threads shine brighter in a picture that will one day take your breath away. Sit with that image. Your confusion is not proof of chaos, it is proof that you are looking from behind. And one day, whether in this life or the next, you will be turned around to face the front, and you will see the whole design, and you will understand that not one thread was wasted. Not one. Not the darkest thread. Not the most painful knot. Not the tangle that made you weep. All of it woven with purpose into something more beautiful than you could have designed if you had held the needle yourself. Let me now bring this down into the practical work of your mind, because understanding a truth is not the same as living it. The Bible tells us to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Transformed. Not by changing your circumstances, but by renewing your mind. This is the same principle Napoleon Hill spent his life teaching, that the mind is the one thing over which you have complete control, and that the person who masters their own thoughts masters their own destiny. Your circumstances may be outside your control. What happened to you was outside your control. But the meaning you assign to it, the story you tell about it, the belief you build on top of it, that is entirely yours. And that is where your power lives. So here is the daily discipline. Every time your mind reaches for the old story, the story that says your life is random and your pain is pointless, you interrupt it. You catch the thought the moment it forms, and you replace it. Where the old thought says this ruined me, the new thought says this is refining me. Where the old thought says I lost everything, the new thought says I am being redirected to something I could not have reached any other way. Where the old thought says God has forgotten me, the new thought says God is working in ways I cannot yet see. You do this not once, not twice, but every single time, until the new pathway in your mind becomes deeper than the old one, until seeing the reason becomes your first instinct instead of your last resort. This is not denial. Denial pretends the pain is not real. This is transformation, which admits the pain fully and then refuses to let it have the final word. There is an enormous difference. The person in denial says nothing bad happened. The transformed person says something bad happened, and it is being woven into something good. And I will hold both truths at once without letting go of either. That is the mature faith. That is the trained mind. That is the person the unseen architect can trust with a great reason, because they have proven they will not curse the process before they see the result. Understand what happens in the mind when you practice this. Every thought you think carves a groove, a pathway, a channel that the next thought flows through more easily. The thoughts you have thought 10,000 times are highways now, wide and fast and automatic, and most of them were built without your permission, in the years before you knew you had a choice. The thought that says life is against you is a highway. The thought that says you are alone is a highway. The thought that says there is no reason is a highway, and every time you travel it, you widen it, you deepen it. You make it easier to travel next time. But here is the freedom hidden in that same law. You can build new highways. Every time you choose the thought that says there is a reason, you lay down a little more of a new road. And though it begins as a narrow and difficult path, overgrown and hard to find, it widens with every use, until one day the new road is the highway, and the old one has fallen into disuse, cracked and forgotten, no longer able to carry your mind away into despair. This is not wishful thinking. This is the deliberate reconstruction of the mind, the very transformation the scriptures command, and the very discipline Napoleon Hill devoted his life to teaching. You are not stuck with the mind you inherited. You are the builder of the mind you will carry into tomorrow. And the raw material of that new mind is the meaning you assign to your pain. This is why the interpretation of your suffering is not a small thing, not a matter of mere attitude or positive thinking. It is the foundation stone of the entire structure of your future self. Assign your pain the meaning of chaos, and you build a life on sand. Assign it the meaning of purpose, and you build a life on rock. The events are fixed, they already happened. But the meaning is liquid, still pourable, still yours to shape, and the meaning is what your subconscious builds from, not the events themselves. Two people can walk through the exact same fire, and one emerges bitter and broken, while the other emerges refined and unstoppable. And the only difference between them is the meaning they chose to assign to the flames. I want to tell you about one more figure, because this one faced a fear so total that it swallowed his faith, and his story is your story on the days when believing feels impossible. There was a prophet named Elijah who had just witnessed one of the greatest displays of God's power ever recorded. Fire fell from heaven at his word. He had stood alone against hundreds and won. He should have been at the height of his faith. And then a single threat from a single angry queen sent him running into the desert, so afraid and so exhausted that he collapsed under a tree and begged to die. "Take my life," he prayed. "I have had enough." This is the man who had just called down fire from the sky, now lying in the dirt, certain his story was over, unable to see any reason to go on. And here is what the unseen architect did. It did not scold him. It did not lecture him about his lack of faith. It sent an angel to let him sleep. And when he woke, the angel had prepared food. "Eat," the angel said. And Elijah ate and slept again. And the angel came a second time and fed him again and said, "The journey is too great for you. Sometimes the reason for your season is not a lesson or a battle or a forging. Sometimes the reason is simply that you were exhausted, and the unseen architect was giving you rest before the next assignment. Sometimes what looks like the end is just a place to sleep and eat and be restored for a journey that is still ahead. If you are in that place tonight, so tired you can barely go on, hear this. You are not being punished. You are being fed. You are being given rest. The architect knows the journey ahead is great and is preparing you for it. One meal, one night, one breath at a time. Do not mistake your exhaustion for the end of your reason. It may simply be the pause before the largest chapter of your life begins. There is a strength I want to build in you now, a resilience that comes from understanding that the reason is often bigger than you. We are trained to think that everything must make sense to us personally, immediately and completely. But the reason for your life reaches beyond your life. Joseph's suffering saved nations he would never meet. Ruth's loyalty produced a lineage that would bless the entire world. The reason for what you are walking through may not be fully for you. It may be for your children. For a stranger you will encounter years from now who needs the exact wisdom your pain is producing. For a generation you will never see, whose freedom is being purchased by battles you are fighting in the dark today. When you cannot find the reason inside your own life, lift your eyes higher, because some reasons are too large to fit inside a single lifetime. Napoleon Hill desired that all achievement, all earned riches, have their beginning in an idea planted in the mind, and that the person who succeeds is the one who holds that idea through every temporary defeat until it becomes reality. Hold the idea. When everything screams that there is no reason, hold the idea that there is one. When the evidence of your senses says your life is chaos, hold the idea that a design is forming. This holding, this stubborn refusal to let go of the belief in your reason, is itself the substance that shapes your future. The world will hand you 1,000 invitations to become bitter. Decline everyone. Hold the idea. There is a reason, and you will not let go of it no matter how long it takes to be revealed. Let me give you a nightly ritual now, something to seal this truth into your subconscious in the hours when it is most receptive. Just before you sleep, when the lights are low and the day is behind you, lie still and let your body relax completely. Start at the top of your head and let the relaxation flow downward over your face, your shoulders, your chest, your arms, all the way down to your feet, until your whole body feels heavy and at peace. Then, in that quiet space between waking and sleeping, review your day not with judgment, but with a single question. Where was the unseen architect today? Look back over the hours. That conversation that felt like an interruption, that delay that frustrated you, that unexpected turn you did not plan for. And ask, what was being arranged that I could not see? What was being protected? What was being prepared? You will be astonished over time at how often the answers begin to appear. The interruption that introduced you to someone important. The delay that kept you from a disaster you never knew about. The unexpected turn that opened a door you would have walked right past. As you practice this nightly review, you train your subconscious to become a detective of divine purpose, and your subconscious, working through the night while you sleep, begins to bring you more and more evidence that your life is not random, that a hand is moving, that a reason is unfolding in every single day. And you wake with a quiet expectancy instead of dread, wondering not what will go wrong, but what is being arranged. Now let me speak to the deepest fear underneath all of this, the fear that maybe your life is the exception. Everyone else has a reason, but not you. Everyone else's suffering means something, but yours is just meaningless pain. This is the lie that isolates you, the whisper that says you alone have been forgotten. And I need you to hear this with everything in you. There are no exceptions to the unseen architect. The same hand that wove purpose into Joseph and Moses and David and Ruth and Elijah is weaving purpose into you. You are not the one life that slipped through the cracks. You are not the single story left without a reason. The scripture does not say all things work together for good except for you. It says all things, all, which includes the very thing you are certain is the exception. The reason your pain feels meaningless is not that it is meaningless. It is that you are standing inside it, and no reason is ever visible from the inside. Ask Joseph in the pit. Ask Moses in year 20 of the desert. Ask David in the cave. Ask Naomi in her bitterness. Not one of them could see the reason from where they stood. And yet the reason was there, complete, already forming, simply waiting for time to reveal what faith had to believe in advance. Your inability to see the reason is not evidence that there is none. It is evidence that you are still inside the story, and the inside is the one place from which the reason can never be seen. Napoleon Hill dizia that our only limitations are those we set up in our own minds, and that the mind can be deliberately trained to overcome any obstacle. The obstacle here is the belief that you are the exception, and you overcome it the same way you overcome any limiting belief. You reject it every time it appears. You replace it with the truth. I am not the exception. My life has a reason. My pain is being woven into a purpose as surely as anyone's who ever lived. And you hold that truth until it becomes the ground you stand on, unshakable, no matter what the storm above it looks like. I asked you a question at the very beginning of our time together, and I told you it would return. Here it is. What if the worst thing that ever happened to you was the exact thing sent to save you? You have walked with me now through pits and prisons, through deserts and caves, through losses and exhaustion, and I hope you are beginning to see the answer forming in your own heart. The worst thing that ever happened to Joseph, being sold into slavery, was the exact thing that positioned him to save the world. The worst thing that happened to Moses, his failure and exile, was the exact thing that prepared him to become a deliverer. The worst thing became the doorway to the greatest thing every single time, in every single life, when the unseen architect was allowed to finish the work. So what if it is true for you? What if the betrayal that shattered you was clearing space for a loyalty you had not yet met? What if the door that slammed in your face was steering you away from a life that would have quietly destroyed you? What if the diagnosis, the loss, the failure, the ending was not the destruction of your purpose, but the strange and painful birth of it? You have spent so long asking why this happened to you. Tonight I am asking you to consider that it may have happened for you, not to you, for you, and the day you truly grasp that difference is the day your entire life changes, because you stop being the victim of your story and become its student, and finally, its author. Everything happens for a reason, not as a slogan you tolerate at funerals, but as the deepest law of a universe governed by a loving and intelligent hand. Your pain has a reason. Your waiting has a reason. Your loss, your battle, your exhaustion, your confusion, all of it, threads in a tapestry you are still seeing from behind. Seeds planted in a garden you have not yet watched bloom. The unseen architect has never once stopped working on your behalf. Not on your darkest night, not in your longest wilderness, not in the pit where you were certain you had been forgotten. It was there. It was always there. Weaving, arranging, building, turning what was meant for evil into something meant for good. You are not falling apart. You are being rearranged. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You are not the exception to the reason. You are living proof of it. And the same hand that carried Joseph from the pit to the palace, Moses from the desert to the mountain, David from the cave to the crown is carrying you right now through the very darkness you thought was the end, toward a purpose you cannot yet imagine but were born to fulfill. Before you go, I want you to do something that will seal this into your spirit. If this message reached the place in you that needed to hear it, if something shifted in you tonight, take a moment right now and write in the comments these words. I trust the reason even before I see it. Write it, because speaking your faith out loud, declaring it where others can witness it, plants it deeper than silent belief ever could. And when you write it, you are not just telling me. You are telling your own subconscious that a new belief has taken root. You are sending a signal into the invisible that you are done being bitter and ready to be led. And if this video gave you even a single breath of hope tonight, if it lifted your eyes even slightly from the pit toward the possibility of a purpose, then take a moment and like this video, because that small gesture pushes this message toward another soul sitting in their own darkness, someone who needs to hear tonight that their pain is not pointless. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, subscribe now and turn on the bell notification so that when the next message arrives, the one your future self will need, it finds its way to you at the exact moment you need it most. Nothing is a coincidence. You did not arrive at this video by accident, and you will not receive the next one by accident either. The unseen architect knows the timing of everything, even this. Share this with someone you love, who has been walking through a hard season, someone who has been asking why, someone who needs to know they have not been forgotten. You may be the very instrument through which their reason begins to make sense. You may be the answer to a prayer they whispered when they thought no one was listening. Do not underestimate the power of passing this message along. A single share can reach a person on the edge and pull them back toward hope. Now let me leave you with this, and carry it with you into every day that follows. When the next hard thing comes, and it will come, because life on this earth guarantees it, you will have a choice. You can meet it the way you always have, with the question that leads to bitterness. Why is this happening to me? Or you can meet it with the question that leads to purpose. What is this happening for? The same event, the same pain. But two completely different lives flow from those two different questions. And now you know which one to ask. Breathe in slowly one more time with me. Fill your lungs completely. And as you do, breathe in the truth that there is a reason for everything you carry. Hold it and release it slowly, letting go of the fear that your life is random, letting go of the bitterness that has held you captive, letting go of the need to understand everything before you can trust anything. In with faith, out with fear, in with purpose, out with despair. You are held, you are led. You are being written into a story far greater than the one you would have written for yourself. Everything happens for a reason. Say it now, out loud, and mean it. Everything happens for a reason. Your pain is not the end. Your loss is not the end. Your wilderness is not the end. It is the middle of a story whose ending has already been written by a hand that loves you more than you know. A hand that has never once let go. A hand that is turning even this, even now, even the thing you cannot understand, into good. Trust the reason. Trust the hand. And walk forward, not because you can see the whole path, but because you finally believe there is one. The unseen architect is not finished with you. Your greatest chapter has not been written yet, and the reason for everything you have survived is about to become the foundation of everything you were born to become.